Chapter 21. We must go the way God moves. We must move by grace and love. Now, the era has changed, and the work of the era of love has begun. The person who moves for this work illuminates light. When words of the era of love are received, light shines from the person who receives the words. God becomes our heads, and we must thoroughly keep God's word. If the word enters inside of the spirit and the stir rests, that word goes on moving me. If the other person receives the stir due to our movements, how amazing is that? God of the era of love is doing that work, and now such work will show. To move by the stir is to move by grace. To move by laws is to move while deeming them heavy burdens. In the era of love, if I move while considering God's work a burden, this is wrath. Because to do things forcibly becomes a burden, God does not receive it. God sent God's one and only Son to us not forcibly, but by grace and love. If I have received this grace and love, I must also move with grace and love from inside myself to save the other person. When it comes to God's work, when I move by grace and love, it is a blessing. We must go according to God's movement. The era of love is not about knowing the word by knowledge, but the opened word goes inside of the spirit, and my lustful thoughts disappear. As I gaze at God, I abandon my lustful thoughts. I do not go by bearing problems, but I go by overcoming problems with the word. Problems cannot go on top of me. The ego I surrenders before the word, and truth must stand inside me in order for peace to be inside me. I must make the enemy of God surrender from inside myself. This enemy makes it so that I cannot receive truth nor enjoy peace from inside my heart. Through my thoughts, worries and concerns enter, and joy disappears. Now, God comes to make the enemy surrender. I must entrust myself to God so that God can work freely. If God makes the enemy surrender, God's good appears. Because God even loves the enemy, peace comes. This is the era of love. God also gave us the heart to love our enemies, but the one who resembles God was covered. So if I catch this enemy inside me, what was covered gets taken off. If so, I can love even the enemy, but the enemy does not yet become love. If we can only love the enemy, there is nothing to worry about. God of the era of love puts inside us the love that can embrace the enemy. The enemy then changes into a person who helps. Thus, I must entrust all things of my entire life to God. Now, I must move not by my thought, but according to the way God moves.